Hello, everyone. Thanks again. Once again, thanks for your patience. This is a dynamic process. It's negotiation, so we usually face sometimes delays. Thanks for your understanding. I'm here with the COP President, Mukhtar Babayev, UN Climate Change Executive Secretary Simon Steele, lead negotiator of COP29, Yalchin Rafiev, the subsidiary body chairs Harry Froils and Ambassador Nabil Munir, Leila Hazanova, Youth Climate Champion for COP29, and the NCQG co-chairs Fiona Gilbert and Sahir Fakir. We will hear first remarks from the COP President and we'll have later time for your questions. Mr. President, you have the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it is a pleasure to welcome you all to the second week of COP29. And allow me to thank all fellow panelists for their work during the first week of the conference. Dear colleagues, this morning in the opening plenary, I set out how far we have come in the first week of COP. We will still need to go, and the COP29 presidency's plan to get there. We have already proved what we can achieve. We passed the first test by adopting the agenda on day one. This followed days of intensive work by the COP29 team to resolve outstanding differences. We then reached an agreement on the standards for Article 6.4, and today we have adopted Article 6.8 on non-market approaches. These are critical steps towards concluding Article 6 negotiations. We also saw the fund for loss and damage signed the hosting, trustee, and host country agreements. And we have also established the Baku work plan of the local communities and indigenous peoples platform. Dear colleagues, this represents progress, but we still have more to do. People have told me that they are concerned about the state of the negotiations. Let me be clear. I'm also concerned that the parties are not moving towards each other quickly enough. It's time for them to move faster. This week we will welcome ministers from around the world as the negotiations reach their final stage. Politicians have the power to reach a fair and ambitious deal. They must deliver on this responsibility. They must engage immediately and constructively. We have appointed ministerial pairs to hold consultations across a wide range of issues. We have also invited Brazil and the United Kingdom to support us to ensure we deliver a high ambitious and balanced package of negotiated outcomes here in Baku. They have been chosen as the incoming presidency and in developing country and as the last developed country presidency. We are delighted to have their support. On the NCQG, I am grateful to co-chairs for their hard work engaging with parties and developing the current draft text. They have cut it down to 25 pages, but we still have a long way to go. With ministers now in Baku, we need parties to work together to find solutions for the key political issues. And we have requested the ministerial pair to hold consultations. We're grateful for Ministers Yasmin Fuad of Egypt and Chris Bowen of Australia for their commitment to consult on three key issues: structure, quantum, and contributors. At the same time, the heads of delegations are expected to address the other outstanding issues. On mitigation, we have been clear that we must make progress. And we have heard a broad range of parties raise their concerns. During the last week, we have engaged with everyone on initiatives from the COP29 Presidency's action agenda, and we are building positive momentum. We have now appointed Ministers Tore Sandvik of Norway and Dion George of South Africa to consult on what a feasible mitigation outcome could look like. Ladies and gentlemen, the G20 will be meeting later today in Brazil. They account for 85% of global GDP and 80% of emissions. Their leadership is essential to making progress on all pillars of the Paris Agreement, from finance to mitigation and adaptation. We cannot succeed without them, and the world is waiting to hear from them. We urge them to use the G20 meeting to send a positive signal of their commitment to addressing the climate crisis. We want them to provide clear mandates to deliver at COP29. This is their chance to show their leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to make one final point. The highest possible level of ambition is indeed difficult, and it requires courage. Colleagues, now's the time to be brave. Thank you again, and we look forward to taking your questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. Executive Secretary, you have the floor.
Thank you, Alex, and good evening to all. And thank you for being here. So entering the second week of this COP, it's a mixed picture. It's been encouraging to see the significant strides forward, notably on carbon markets, making progress that previous COPs could not achieve. There's more work to do, of course, and I'm certainly not complacent. There are still challenges ahead there. The bottom line is we're a long way from halving global emissions this decade. So progress at COP29 is absolutely essential, and we must help countries to pick up this pace over this final week. We've also seen strong signals from two G20 economies already, the UK and Brazil, that have just submitted their NDCs. They plan to ramp up climate action, and they are clear they are doing so because it's 100% in their economic interest to do so. One less prominent but really crucial tool in the Paris Agreement toolkit is the new biennial transparency reports, which are due this year. These reports are vital enabling tools for all governments to help build an evidence base for stronger climate policies over time. And we have seen some submitted, and more are on their way, and I commend those front runners. But there is still a ton of work to do to ensure COP29 delivers. Parties need to be moving much faster towards landing zones. This applies to the negotiations on the NCQG in particular. I've been very blunt. Climate finance is not charity. It is 100% in every nation's interest to protect their economies and people from rampant climate impacts. Parties must wrap up less contentious issues early in the week so there is enough time for the major political decisions. We've worked closely with the presidency, who have just laid out a clear approach to getting us to the finish line. Ministers who have just arrived need to roll up their sleeves and dive into the hardest issues. The package is starting to take shape, with the NCQG as the key pillar. I use the word package very deliberately, because if we want to succeed here, we cannot afford to keep getting stuck in negotiating silos. To put it another way, we can't lose sight of the forest because we're tussling over individual trees. We also cannot afford any outbreak of you firstism, where groups of parties dig in and refuse to move on one issue until others move elsewhere. This is a recipe for going literally nowhere and could see global climate efforts go backwards at a time when we simply must move forward. We'll only get the job done if parties are prepared to step forward in parallel, getting us closer to common ground. The bluffing, brinksmanship, and premeditated playbooks are burning up precious time and running down the goodwill needed for an ambitious package. So let's cut the theatrics and get down to the real business this week. Yes, there are headwinds. Every one of us knows that. But lamenting them won't make them go away. And now is the time to be focusing on solutions. I know we can get this done. The presidency is working around the clock with diligence, determination, and even-handedness. The Secretariat will continue to be the steady guide by their side, whilst also supporting parties with a focus on inclusivity. Civil society is here in force, urging parties on and keeping this COP on in the global spotlight. And crucially, there is an incredible depth of experience, wisdom, and determination among delegates. I urge everyone, now's the time to put that to work. I thank you.
Thank you, Executive Secretary. We now hear short remarks from the SB chairs. Harry Frohls first, please.
Good afternoon. It is also a privilege to join you this afternoon. The past week that was intended on technical topic has been productive. We witness constructive engagement and progress across the key technical discussions under the SEPTA. Parties demonstrated commitment and really strong commitment to advance of key aspects of the work. In a broad sense, progress was made across a number of issues, notably for SEPTA, the conclusions related to research and systematic observation, and really good progress, as mentioned by previous speaker, on market mechanism that should make it possible to have at this COP a decision to fully operationalize those markets. Parties haven't finalized yet all the technical elements, but there is a good basis for deliberation this week. As also mentioned by other speakers, we have to speed up, and from the technical side, we have to shift our focus towards building on the progress achieved, towards conclusions and decision at the end of the week, and approaching and addressing the remaining gaps. The cooperation, but especially the dictation of all parties so far, give me the confidence that we will continue to build on this momentum and deliver meaningful results. With this, I will now hand over to my colleague, Ambassador Nabil Munir, Chair of the SBI.
Thank you, Harry, and a very good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President, for the invitation to join you at this press conference. I would like to provide you just a very few short reflections on the first week of the conference. It was encouraging to see progress in the negotiation rooms in the past week and an appetite to achieve results, showcasing collaboration among parties for the common goal of safeguarding a sustainable future. In particular, progress was made on capacity building, action for climate empowerment for youth, technology, and matters relating to least developed countries. Despite progress, considerable efforts are still needed to address critical unresolved issues, such as mitigation work program, just transition, global goal on adaptation, matters relating to response measures, and of course, finance, where the rubber meets the road. Looking at the upcoming week, the aim is to achieve a balanced and high ambition outcome by the end of the week. Transparency, inclusivity, and urgency remains essential guiding principles to accelerate implementation and ensure the success of COP29. And as Simon just said, this is not a who blinks first contest. I would like to remind everyone that each decision made in Baku, each promise upheld, and each commitment strengthened is a seed planted. I urge parties to work together for ambitious outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. For your information, today is also the Youth Day, among other topics, and we have Leila Hasanova here, the climate champions, for some remarks. Over to you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to join you here today. Thank you all for coming, and thank you all of today's speakers. As the COP29 Presidency Youth Climate Champion, it's my role to put children and youth at the heart of climate diplomacy and the COP processes. For young people, fighting climate change is not just about the world we will inherit, it's about the impacts that are already inflicted on us today. The world has made important strides in delivering for young people at recent COPs. This year, we want all together to build on that legacy. Youth is a cross-cutting part of the COP29 presidency's plan to enhance ambition and enable action. As they enhance their ambition, we are calling on all parties to produce age-responsive climate plans. We must meaningfully engage young people in developing, implementing, and reporting on those plans. As we enable action by scaling up climate finance, I urge all stakeholders to find ways to direct resources to vulnerable young people and children. Currently, only 2.4% of climate finance reaches children and youth. This is simply not enough, because age-responsive climate finance should be a central plank of our shared path forward. The position and role of the Youth Climate Champion is still new. We're working closely with the UNFCCC Secretariat and with our fellow colleagues from previous and upcoming presidencies to further embed the role into the COP system. Together, we're looking to build COP-to-COP continuity on climate action for children and youth. This topic is too important to come in and out of style year on year. Dear friends, we have just 1 week of COP left, and we urge parties to keep young people at the heart of their discussions in the coming days. I thank you, and we look forward to taking the questions.
Thank you very much. Just a reminder for the questions now, please introduce yourself, your media organization, and to let you know, the Executive Secretary needs to leave in a few minutes. If you want to ask him a question, maybe to do that first. The gentleman here in the first row.
Thank you. My name is Vugar Seyidov. I'm from Azerbaijan State News Agency, Azertaj, and my question is to Minister Babayev. Mr. Babayev, we are now on a halfway of COP29. A lot has happened and a lot has been said. Having now reached the middle of COP29, how do you evaluate the chances for an absolute success of current conference in terms of reaching the goals that were initially set out for this COP29? And generally, would you agree with the opinion of many politicians and experts here that should those goals be reached, then current COP29 has every chance to become a turning point, some sort of a benchmark that many already call a beginning, a starting point of a new Baku process? Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, our team is focused to consolidate all the parties to find the agreements in Baku at COP29. Yeah, it is not easy, a lot of questions, and main challenge for us is to agree with NCQG, you know, this new finance goal. And now we are negotiating with the parties. We provide necessity conditions for the parties to talk, to debate, not only on NCQG, but other issues also. And we are optimistic that we can find the conclusions, positive outcomes on different directions. That's why we have very hard work now. We call to all the countries, all the parties, all the leaders now to demonstrate this leadership and to consolidate all the parties to find the positive outcomes at the end of this week. Thank you.
Thank you. The gentleman here, white shirt, third row, at the aisle.
Yeah, Joydeep Gupta from the Earth Journalism Network. My question is to the Executive Secretary. You talked just now about a package that is necessary. Earlier today at the Civil Society press conference, we heard that negotiating tracks on mitigation work program, loss and damage, everything else is being held hostage by NCQG. Are you two talking about the same thing?
So in terms of the package, defining that package, that is for parties to decide. We are at the halfway point in the negotiations, which we know are not easy. Transitioning from the technical, where there has been a reiteration of party positions. As of today, we move to the political, where those issues are expected to be elevated for resolution. So let us see how this week plays out in addressing issues and how positions can come together for landing grounds which will result in that final package.
The gentleman in the black sweater here, yeah.
Sorry, James Murray from Business Green. Was the UNFCCC or the COP29 presidency provided with any explanation as to why Argentina's delegation appears to have left the talks? And what message would you have to any country that might be considering leaving the Paris Agreement?
I certainly don't want to speculate on any reasons. Reason has not been brought forward to me. We're all here, all 198 countries who are parties to the convention are busy negotiating for an outcome at the end of this COP that speaks to the global challenges that we face with regard to the climate crisis.
On this side, the lady here in the middle with the blue shirt.
Thank you. Kenza Bryan from the Financial Times. I wondered whether you think Article 6 carbon deals should count as part of the wider NCQG, even though buyer countries will be receiving a service in exchange for that carbon. Should Article 6 deals count as part of the quantum in the NCQG, even though buyer countries will be receiving a service in exchange for those carbon credits, because they'll cut their own emissions? And then secondly, do any of you have anything to say about the role of how concerned you are about AI? It hasn't come up very much in these talks, and the way it could be driving more climate change.
With regards to the finance package and what's within that package, what is outside of that package, that is for parties to decide. So that will be part of their determination. With regards to AI, there isn't a discrete agenda item on that, but clearly it is a technology that has global implications in every area.
Gentleman, first row with the green pullover.
Good afternoon, Benjamin Lejeune from AFP. A question for Mr. Babayev and Mr. Steele. You mentioned the expectation from the G20. Could you specify what you would like to read in the leader's statement in the G20? Thank you.
The G20 is the G20, the UNFCCC is the UNFCCC. We are here in Baku. I could speak to what reasonable expectations there are here. The G20 constitutes 80% of global emissions, 85% of global GDP, so clearly decisions that are made in that forum, which are discrete from those inside the UNFCCC, of course have global implications. But the two processes are very discrete. We're focused on delivering what we need to deliver here. I made a public statement on Saturday with regard to what those general expectations are, and I think it was pretty well articulated what those were. Thank you.
I think it's a very good chance for the leaders of G20 to demonstrate their leadership and to at least to put this issue, climate agenda, climate discussions, climate actions issue in the center of the discussions, and also demonstrate their leadership in the consolidation of the big economies to contribute to this agenda, contribute to climate finance. Thank you.
The Executive Secretary needs to leave now, and we continue with more questions. First row.
Seth Borenstein, Associated Press. It's too bad. This would have been, the Executive Secretary talked about brinksmanship for Mr. Babayev. The rich nations of the world haven't offered a core number yet in the NCQG negotiations. Is that sort of the brinksmanship that you think Mr. Steele was talking about? And is there a deadline or some kind of pressure being put on developed nations to come up with a public, not even a public, a starting point from their point instead of not providing a number?
Thank you, Seth. We continue to negotiate with the donor countries and call them to increase their ambitions. Also, I think you already mentioned that the G20 is also a very good chance to discuss the positions of the countries, because we have a lot of different approaches now regarding the structure, regarding the contributors list, and quantum. That's why we think that the donor countries, G7 countries, they need to demonstrate their leadership in the climate finance issues, and I think these discussions will continue till the last day. And today we are not ready to talk about any numbers. Yelchin, if you have anything to add?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, quantum is one of the elements that are subject to negotiation, and with the appointment of the ministerial pairs and the current assignment of the ministerial pairs for this week will be exactly as one of the three elements to concentrate on these three and try to, at the political level, reach out to the parties and get an agreement complementing the technical work that will be going in parallel.
Thank you. The SB chair has to leave, but we take two more questions. The lady in the fourth aisle, in the fourth row in the aisle, please. The microphone is coming from the back.
Hi, thank you for the update. I really appreciate that. Shauna Kaur for the Irish Daily Mirror. I would like to know a question for Mr. Babayev, please. How many oil and gas deals have Azerbaijan done this year while leading these talks? And do you think that that's good leadership when the aim of COP is to reduce fossil fuel use?
The main oil and gas producing country already adopted the decarbonization programs. And I think not only countries, not only fossil fuel producing countries, but also companies, they adopted their decarbonization programs. I think the world is moving on the direction to increase the green energy, green transition programs. That's why I think that all of the world, and petrostates, I mean the oil and gas countries, fossil fuel producing countries, it's a good chance for these countries to demonstrate their leadership in this issue and to increase the investment to the green energy, green transition projects. Thank you.
And the last question to the gentleman with the gray suit. Yeah, please.
My question to presidents in general.
Could you please identify yourself?
Kamran Gasimov, Real TV, Azerbaijan. My question to presidents in general. And will COP29 be able to achieve his goal about climate financial? And how was past week? I mean, which achievements were approved? Thank you.
I think for COP29 team, it is a good chance to organize for the countries all necessity conditions to discuss and to agree. And we try to navigate the process of discussions, and we try to bring the position of the parties more closer. I think we have these chances, and we will work on it. And I think it is not easy task, but all of us, I mean our team, and we call all the countries to be motivated to finalize this week with the positive outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have to finish here. So thank you, Chuck Sagul, for coming. See you tomorrow, 1:15, same place. See you tomorrow. Bye.